Hello and a warm welcome to the 77%, our program for you, Africa's youth. I'm Edith Kimani, and this week we have a very special show for you, coming to you from Eldoret, the home of champions. This week, we take a deep dive into the world of sports across the continent. Here's what we have for you. We investigate how to tackle corruption in Kenyan sports institutions. Marathon legend Eliud Kipchoge tells us his secrets on how to keep your mind on track. And in South Africa, we meet the BMX spinners of Soweto. Africa has produced some of the greatest names across different sporting disciplines, from footballers to basketballers, and of course, from right here, distance runners. Yet the continent continues to grapple with lack of government investment, for example, or gross mismanagement of teams, and perhaps worst of all, corruption in sports institutions. Why is the continent lagging behind despite the immense natural talent? Well, I spoke to a few people here in Kenya to try and answer the question. When Webster Lukose is getting ready to lift, it looks like he's preparing for war. A battle between himself and an unimaginable 150 kilograms over his head. This is the life of a weightlifter, and Webster is one of the best in Kenya. He was well on his way to becoming an Olympian, but things didn't go quite as planned.
I played my part. I showed up in the gym. I put all the effort I could. But unfortunately, for example, for my federation, which was supposed to be like my link to the scholarship and to the Olympics, really misappropriated the funds that were supposed to help me. So I ended up not making it to the qualification events and not earning enough points to be able to qualify for the Olympics.
That same year Webster was locked out of the Olympics, the sports ministry was riddled with corruption scandals that left the former minister facing jail time for misusing Olympic funds. For Webster, the experience was too much, forcing him to quit the national team and say goodbye to his childhood dream.
It was really depressing, to the point where I was it was a lot of mental strain, such I've never experienced before. And based on that, I think I just decided to hang my boots. So I ended up fighting alone. And unfortunately, to my knowledge, it's like the entire system is just corrupt.
Sports journalist Bernard Ndong tells me Webster's case is not isolated, that in fact, most Kenyan sports people are amateurs. Yet all around us are football youth leagues, purportedly training the future stars of Africa. So where is the disconnect?
The challenge in Kenya, you find a player playing in football turf like this one, and then you move on to play in professional artificial turf. You have what is called culture shock, because you're not exposed to such facilities. And that is usually the biggest problem when it comes to Kenyan sports in general, because there's no system per se. And if there's some semblance of a system, it's usually very ad hoc, it's very haphazard. And you find that if I want to start playing sports at a young age, I'm not too sure about the future.
Those that do make the cut to compete at international games like the Olympics face a different kind of struggle. Photos like these showing stranded athletes at airports, or videos like this one showing the dilapidated accommodation of elite athletes are not uncommon. The most common complaint, however, is delayed payments or none at all. One person trying to change that is Cynthia Mumbo. Under her company, Sports Connect Africa, the former basketball player is hoping to create structures that generate profit at multiple points of the ecosystem, all for the benefit of the athlete.
If I'm buying a phone, the phone is a product, but there's so many components. But behind the scenes, who's creating that phone? Who's selling that phone? Who's making sure the experience for, the quality is good for the person who's buying that phone? It's exactly the same with sports. The only difference, and the biggest difference, is that you're dealing with human beings. And that's where the value conversation comes in, because you must respect athletes. you must respect the fans. Everybody else is in between.
For the young players at the Vikapu basketball camp, it's easy to remain optimistic. Back at the gym, however, Webster is not so sure. While he believes Kenya may one day be represented in different sports disciplines at an elite level, he doesn't think that day is coming any time soon.
At the beginning of 2022, the Kenyan government directed all sports federations and associations to prioritize mental health in their programs. Now, while Kenya continues to produce some of the best distance runners, sports in this country has been grappling with cases of sexual harassment, mental health, and even, and unfortunately, gender-based violence. Well, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Eliud Kipchoge, arguably the world's greatest marathon runner, to see what can be done about this. I also had a chance to ask some off-the-cuff questions, and his answers, they might surprise you.
The press called him GOAT, which is short for the greatest of all time. And marathon runner Eliud Kipchoge indeed defies human standards, especially since the Kenyan broke records in Vienna in 2019. As the first human in history, Kipchoge broke the 2-hour barrier at an astonishing average pace of completing 1 kilometer in 2 minutes 50 seconds. In 2021, he won his second Olympic gold medal, but that's still not enough. Now, aged 37, Kipchoge dreams about winning all 6 Abbott World Marathon majors. But who's the person behind the world-famous athlete? Where does he get his unbreakable mental strength from? We wanted to find out and traveled to his farm near Eldoret. An exclusive private moment with Eliud Kipchoge.
It's a very big farm, it's very beautiful.
Yeah.
You don't plan on retiring soon, do you?
No.
Yeah?
No, but not yet. But all in all, I'll retire. So.
We all will eventually.
Yes.
Yeah. But you won't stop running, I'm guessing. Maybe not competing, but...
I will not stop running.
Yeah.
Yes.
How many years has it been now?
It's 18 years
18
now.
years. This is the 18th year.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you see everything that you've accomplished, surely you must feel very proud of yourself.
Yes, I am proud of myself. I am proud of those who actually in my surrounding. That without them, actually, I couldn't be here now.
Yeah. That's actually what I want us to talk about, the people who are around you and how you're able to keep a very strong mind despite all the challenges. So is it okay if we go sit in your barn? I saw some haystacks. Today we are going to take you back to earth and put you on haystacks.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, let's go. Athletes in particular endure a lot of stress and pressure. They have mental challenges which they sometimes don't talk to people about. Here in our country, last year, 3 great athletes unfortunately losing their lives. How would you assess the state of sportsmen and women, their mental health, particularly in Kenya right now?
I think actually the stress with sportsmen and women actually is increasing, and it's unfortunate. But it's as a result of living or being surrounded by negative people.
Have you ever found yourself in that situation where you were experiencing these high levels of stress? And if so, how did you deal with it?
I have been surrounded for the last 18 years with the positive people, both actually in sport and outside the sport. So I think I'm a lucky one. I've been actually following the right values and having a value actually myself, which which I can't live without it. I have things which I can die with those things.
What are these values that you say, you know, they're so important to you that you actually can't live without them?
The value actually of integrity. In sport, what I mean by integrity is courage to go to the next mile, courage to face anything in your life, the value of the family, the value of self-discipline, the value of consistency. So I can live without those values, then there is no Eliud.
So who are these people that you've surrounded yourself with, who you say, you know, they're the ones who hold you together when things are a bit shaky?
Oh, I'm surrounded by my coach, Patrick Sang. I'm getting all the values, I'm getting what's needed from him as far as even living is concerned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you tell me maybe some of the the key points that he's taught you over the years? I mean, you've been with him a long time.
Yes, the first point is trusting myself, treating myself as the best one, living an honest life. Those are 3 points actually which he told me when I was still young.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to understand how you manage to control your emotions so well. Because you said in previous interviews that discipline is one of the ways to do that. Is this the only way? Because you're very tempered.
I understand life. You know, in this world that you need to understand life. And anything comes in your way in a negative way, you need to understand. Because they say where there is life, then there is a challenge.
So how do you deal with some of these challenges, or how have you dealt with them in the past? Because, you know, athletes get injured all the time physically, and I can imagine that causes a lot of pressure. Losing a run, that doesn't feel nice. Not having a good training day, maybe you're just feeling off. Yeah,
all of them are challenges. If you don't feel after a basic training today, then tomorrow is a day. But it's good to have the worst training in that day, but finish the training, which can I can give myself actually my mind to calm. Because even if the training was really painful, but I finished.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And how would you advise, you know, these young professionals? I'm sure you run with them here all the time. They must see you on the streets and want to give you a high five and want to get your autograph. How do you advise them to face the challenges of today? Because young people are grappling with a lot.
You need to show that you are a real professional. You know, to be a professional is just, you build your career, you respect your professionalism, you work actually and respect your ethics of your professionalism. So it's somebody who is actually a value-oriented person. It's easy to manage. It's easy to instill anything you want to instill in a positive way, but you cannot instill anything negative because it's a value, he or she is a value-oriented man or woman. You cannot actually sway him or her in a negative way.
Yeah. I really love that you keep coming back to this whole idea of values, and I think I'm finally getting it, that if you stand for something, then it's hard for people to put their own evils in you, in a sense. When you think about your future at the moment, because you're a man who's accomplished everything in your career at this point, what do you visualize?
I think I am visualizing that I need to make our country a running country and the whole world a running world. Before call it tough actually in sport. And I'm still hungry to perform, to inspire the next generation and tell the young people that actually if you say yes in your heart and transfer to your mind and say it in your mouth, then you can perform. It's not about sport. That's about any other profession that we need people actually to respect their professions. We need people to invest in themselves and invest in their families, their friends, their neighbors. That's what it's in my bucket list.
Yeah. That's a very busy bucket list. So how do you plan on making us a running nation or a running world? Because it's one thing to be inspired by you, but it's another thing to wake up in the morning and run yourself.
I'm trying to tell people that before you do anything, even spare your 30 minutes and run.
What about who are saying that they don't have time? It's too busy, the schedule. What do you say to that?
There is nobody who is busy in this world. There is no responsibilities in this world. There is a responsibility, but no responsibilities. There is time for everything.
You just need to make time for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And stick with the time.
Now, that's an interview that I'm sure I will not be forgetting. And speaking of memories, I grew up riding bikes. Well, maybe not quite as big as that one, but you know what I mean. And it was part of our playtime. Often we came back home so dusty and with punctured tires. But trust me, our maneuvers were nowhere close to what these young South Africans are up to. They're part of a growing BMX culture that was born in Soweto, showcasing a very cool and unique cycling style.
Spinning like the big ones. In Soweto, racing, thriving and spinning is not just a sports for motor athletes. The youth of Soweto are taking the sports to a new level, onto their own custom-made bikes. When weekend comes, the Soweto riders are taking over the streets. The township is home to a thriving biking culture. The king discipline is spinning, and Makwekwe, aka Makesh, is the unrivaled star of the scene.
When I spin my bicycle, it's like getting into a trance. There is a demon inside me, and I change from being Makwekwe to Makesh.
4 years ago, Makesh built the Fast Double bike, an extra long BMX bike with plastic bottles around the back wheel. It's perfect for spinning and brought Makwekwe fame and admiration.
Because it's a lifestyle that we love and we are inspired in it because Makesh showed it to us because he might be the king of us all because he's the one who came with it. So he's encouraging us to do the same.
Makwekwe was inspired by car spinning, a motorsport that involves driving cars at speed in circles to perform stunts and tricks. Spinning originated in the 1980s as part of South Africa's gangster culture. Young men from the township would steal expensive cars in well-off suburbs. If the heist was successful, the trophy was paraded back home until the tires burst. Since then, spinning has evolved into a popular South African motorsport. And the youth is ready to pick up on these sports. Equally important to the spinning skills are the looks of the bikes, which are custom built and pimped to the brim. Custom-made bicycles, modified rims, chains and pegs, however, come with a price tag and a lot of sacrifice.
We would fix other people's bikes and charge them, but we are also hooking up events, mixing up with other cyclists and helping each other. Because with parents it's tough. They don't give you money just to pimp out these bikes, because for them this is no career.
Back home, Makwekwe gets his bike ready for a special event. 2 car spinners have invited him for a joint spin on the road. They have heard of Makwekwe's double bike and got intrigued to meet up and spin together. Lady Dali races her car into a street corner and starts the show. Moments later, Makwekwe joins her in a daredevil move. The 2 spinners are looking to host events together, but want to check out first how people on the streets like their stunt.
There's a lot of power that's in these cars, you know what I mean? And we do a lot more damage than the bikes. But like he brings on the show. You heard the people screaming whenever he went in. Well done. Yeah, that was amazing. That was amazing, yeah.
Makwekwe's double bikes have spread all over Soweto and neighboring townships. For him and others, the bike has become an instrument to express their freedom and creativity and lay the foundation for the new bike subculture. His bicycles mean the world to Makwekwe. He lost his parents a few years ago and stopped going to school. He now stays with his aunt.
When I started with this, my mother was very supportive before she passed away. She would have been proud of me because I have an impact in spinning, and I am also teaching others how to spin. You know, lots of people are following me, so my mother would have been very proud of me.
Makwekwe's passion, though, is not without its hazards. Friends of him have been seriously injured when they collided with passing cars. Some have even died. To make the sports more safe, the riders also meet up at a venue without cars and traffic.
Look, a part of me really wants to try that, but perhaps not before sandboarding. Now, sandboarding is this extreme sport which is very similar to snowboarding, actually. It involves riding across or down a sand dune. And what better place to try that than, or maybe not here, perhaps one of the world's largest sand dunes in Namibia? I think, yeah.
It's fun, it's fast, it's messy. Sandboarding is growing in popularity and the sport is about to step into the shoes of its big brothers, surfing and snowboarding. Championships like this one held in Ica, Peru in 2019 bring together pros and fans from around the world. But sandboarding also has a home in Africa. Namibia's Swakopmund is a prime location for the adrenaline-fueled sport, and some locals want to make Swakop a sandboarding paradise. With some of the world's biggest sand dunes located here, sandboarding has become a source of income for many, like Blanco.
So the first walk up is the hardest, but then eventually after that it gets easier.
Blanco takes tourists up the sand dunes on most days, telling them to hang in there. But walking up 150 meters in height is a strenuous form of exercise. Never mind that under the hot Namibian sun, you still have to wear winter boots and carry heavy snowboards to enjoy your moment of glory. And there are no alternatives. Blanco and his crew have to use winter sports gear from Europe to fit their purpose.
On top of the world!
Blanco's friend Ravanelli is improvising a ramp. And before each ride, he also makes sure the boards are all up to scratch, literally. It turns out waxing is extremely important for a smooth ride.
We gotta always, before each ride, make sure we apply some Cobra wax polish. Wax that on before it dries. Some sand on it. And wax off, like Mr. Miyagi. Wax on, wax off.
A few years ago, sandboarding was considered a serious sport. There was even a South African league holding regular contests in these very dunes. The organization, however, collapsed, and sandboarding for the most part became only a tourist attraction. And last year wasn't exactly great for business either because of COVID-19 restrictions. But Ravanelli keeps coming back.
This is sandboarding, bro. And me and my homeboys here, we set up this little sandboarding team, but also usually we bring tourists out here, instruct them on how to ride the sandboard, you know? So we got the best of both worlds. We got the dunes right here, and just right across the highway we got the ocean. So this is free, man, free spirit.
Ravanelli and his friends are looking forward to teaching many future visitors how to move about on a board. And who knows, maybe one day there will be another championship in these beautiful dunes.
Let's bring you back here in Kenya, where we meet a man like no other. Ayub Alulu Masahwa trains cocks to fight. Yeah, you heard that right. Cockfighting is actually a big part of a culture here in Western Kenya. But the traditional sport is losing popularity as modernization takes over aspects of rural African life. Masahwa is, however, determined to keep the old sport alive, training his champions with the help of his children.
This is a man ready for a fight. Ayub Alulu Masakwe is the king of cockfighting. He's famous in his home region, Kakamega County, in western Kenya. But before he heads to the ring, Ayub checks his ishiriri to see if it's working. Cockfighting here is nothing without this instrument shrieking in the background. Cockfighting is embedded in the culture of Kenya's Luya community. The sport has been passed down from one generation to the next, and Ayub Alulu wants his children to keep his legacy alive.
When my kids grow, I would like them to be proud of the culture and to know that it paid for their education. They should not just be seeing news on TV or read on newspapers about their dad. They should know they were part of the culture from the word go and they actively participated. They used to sing and dance just like you've seen these kids do, all of them from the young to the old ones.
Like any family business, everyone has a role to play. The younger girls entertain spectators while the older boys take care of the cockerels. And daughter Mildred Malesi regales everyone with the vuvuzela.
I started playing with him when I was so young, I can't even remember my age, but my mum was still alive. At that time we were playing with him, we would go to most of the functions and he would train me how to play. So that when we have something like this vuvuzela, he would tell me, this is how we blow it. So I started getting the skills bit by bit. It's been progressive, and right now I know how to play several other instruments, and I'm so happy.
But as soon as the match starts, the only thing that matters is the playing field. Alulu is the referee. He keeps a close eye on the cockerels and sometimes steps in if things start getting too hairy. For Alulu, this is more than entertainment. It's how he earns his living.
Every time I see my dad stage cockfighting matches, I feel so happy because it means that we are able to go to school, eat, our personal needs are met at home, and every activity that we do is from him.
Like her siblings, Mildred knows full well what her father's work has done for the family. She wishes the cockfighting culture was appreciated more. Like many other traditions, it's at risk of extinction.
I pray that as the days go by, he will get someone who can promote him, put him up there and not below.
Cockfighting has a bad rep among animal rights activists, and for good reason. But Alulu doesn't want his animals to get hurt. After a few minutes of clacking beaks and a few lost feathers, one of the cockerels simply walks away. Alulu hoists the champion into the air. He might be the only one of his kind, but he's hopeful the tradition will live on through future generations.
And that's all we have for you today. Do let us know what you think. Remember, you can always get in touch with us via Facebook, Instagram, or even YouTube. We want to get the conversation going on topics that are important to you. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Edith Kimani, coming to you from this great town of Eldoret, and we'll leave you now with some music. Bye-bye.
All right. Tell me where then they run all they also how they try sustain. Every Saturday, from Eliud down to Costain. I beg, no carry my blessing run. Today now you, tomorrow fi be my turn. Show me love, now go show me python. We be the same for Oluwa Kingdom. So me say, celebrate me. Now when I day alive, appreciate me. Now when I day alive, not be say when I live this life, you go to fake I'm for my wife.